Hey, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the oops. Welcome to the Prospecting Masterclass. Glad that all of you could be here today. Super glad, very grateful for all of you to attend this masterclass. Today we're going to be covering how to find more clients as a life insurance agent. For some reason got this, my tie not fixed properly. All right. Perfect. Glad to be here today. Welcome to the Prospecting Masterclass. Glad that all of you could be here today. We're going to be covering something great and something fun. And we're going to be covering how to find more life insurance clients. I'm just putting this banner up today. And we have Jesus in our waiting room today, and we're going to be letting him in. And we're going to be covering how to brand yourself and market yourself. And before I let him in, if you don't know who I am, my name's Kevin, the founder of Leadz On Demand. And what we do is we help WFG agents find clients and recruits. And we also help other different businesses find clients and recruits using outbound messaging, calling, prospecting. And we come with you live every Saturday at 7 p.m. And we want to bring with you guests, talented guests, leaders in their space to discuss, how they're doing it and how they're promoting and how they're growing their business. And today I'm going to be introducing to you someone really cool, someone that I met a couple days ago. And he is a leader in his company. And maybe you know him, maybe not. But we're going to be talking about how to find more life insurance clients, especially during Life Insurance Awareness Month. All right, let me just welcome our guest.
Hey, what's going on, Kevin?
Hey, nice to have you here, brother.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, I
Great
know
topic.
you. Huh?
It's a great topic to have to talk about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I know you're probably more experienced in this than I am, to be honest. And I just wanted to talk about branding and marketing with you. But perhaps would you like to start it off by introducing yourself to the group?
Sure. My name is Jesus Villalobos. I've been with WFG for a little bit over 12 years now. Actually, my background is in computer science and mechanical engineering, so I didn't necessarily come from the financial sector myself. I actually transitioned into it because of some challenges in my career, my previous career, and found that WFG fit what I was looking for, fit with the flexibility of my time, with learning a new skill, and not only that, but just filling a gap in the demand that's very much out there, right? Financial literacy. So many people just don't understand money, don't understand insurance. I was one of them. I was one of those people that I felt like I made good money, but didn't know how to manage it, didn't know
Yeah.
what to do with it, didn't know how to save it. So when I learned more about WG and what we do and how we do things, it was an instant connection. Like it was an instant. This is what I've been looking for, and this is what people actually do need, right? But appreciate the time with you, Kevin.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. What do you think was there was a sparking mark that has helped you, like, that has brought you here and you said you're
Um,
searching for it?
I would say, sometimes we gotta find an enemy to fight, right? And I think in our case, the enemy is just misinformation, ignorance, and illiteracy. Especially in our communities, whether it's African American, people of color, Latinos, Mexican, you name it. There's a big disconnect between understanding, doing, and knowing. I speak personally when I say this. I frankly didn't know anything about money. Outside of knowing how to make it, right? You go to a job, you put in your hours, you cash in your check, and hopefully you get to retire one day. Because I didn't have any actual examples of what it looked like in my family. There's no one in my family that's ever owned a business. There's no one in my family that's ever necessarily quote unquote successful. So I didn't really have too many examples of what it could potentially look like. But as I grew, as I got married, as I started having children of my own, you realize how much of an impact we are to society. I read a quote once,
Mm.
not too long ago, and it said, instead of just worrying about leaving a good world for our kids, we should also consider leaving good kids to this world, right? And the better informed our kids are about these topics that are super important, the better the chances that we have in the future. Um, and there's not a lot of opportunities
Yeah.
out there, frankly, where someone can come in, get a world class education on money, personal finance, and then take that information, turn it into an opportunity to earn an income, earn a living from it. I mean, it feels awesome to be in an industry or in a business where by working with someone or helping a family, you're increasing their overall net worth, right? They're worth more money because they're doing business with you. They're more educated. They understand the risks, right? And I think too many people, truth be told, we're victims of circumstances, and it's a cycle that we just can't get out of, right? It's just, man, my mom told me to do this, or my grandma told me to do this. It's not until someone I gets fed up, right? And that was that person. I just got fed up. I was like, yeah, there has to be more. There has to
Mm.
be more than just showing up to a job.
Yeah.
Um, but to answer your question, in short, I wanted to be present in my children's life, and there's not a lot of places or companies or corporations that will allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And WG is one of the greatest platforms that I've ever been introduced to that allows that, and then some.
So true, man. Yeah. And I know you were talking about getting your message across to your family, especially people in your culture. And what are you doing in terms of strategy to get to teach them about the benefits of your products and life insurance and joining your team? Um,
Uh,
what's your strategy?
there's a couple things, right? I think I ask people all the time, what do you think is the best way to help the poor and the needy and those that get left behind, right? And I hear all types of answers, right? There's more jobs, you create better opportunities, you educate them, you give them money. I heard a lot of different reasons, right? But it really occurred to me the best way to help the poor and the needy is to not be one of them, meaning become the
Yeah.
example you wish others to follow. So for me, I made it a point to, before I can tell you to go do something, I actually went and did it first. I went and learned how to budget. I went and learned how to protect myself. I learned the products and services, right? I learned, what term insurance is, ins and outs. I learned what permanent insurance, the ins and outs, the
Yeah.
pros and cons, because there's no perfect product out there. It doesn't exist. There isn't a single thing you can do that's going to guarantee you any type of financial stability. It's a combination of things, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like having a healthy diet, right? You can't just drink water and think that that's going to be enough, right? You have to get your carbs, your proteins, and I mean maybe not so many carbs, right? But your proteins and your veggies, right? And it's the same thing with personal finance. So as someone in my community, I wanted it first to be the example. I said, you know what? I didn't come from the greatest neighborhood, right? I grew up in a very interesting city, right? City of Compton, California, where
Wow.
statistically speaking, the odds of me succeeding or not, or leaving the hood, as we call it, right, was very small, right? It was
Yeah.
either you die in your 20s or you don't live long enough to see your 60s. So for me, it was, I don't want it that, right? I had good examples of work ethic within my family, my dad, my mom, my brothers, but it was okay. What's after that? Working hard just can't be the formula to success and financial freedom. It's not it, right? It's not the only thing, right? It's a big portion of it, but it's not the only thing. So I really took it upon myself to say, you know what? I need to come and learn these things first so I can go teach it to the community. I need to go understand it. Because like I said, there isn't a
Yeah.
single product or service that solves everything that we have, right? At the end of the day, I tell people all the time, yes, I might be in the business of financial services. Yes, I might be in the business of selling you insurance or protection or wills and trust. But at the end of the day, the business that I'm truly in is the business of personal responsibility, right? And you either want to be more responsible or are looking for ways to be more responsible, or you're not. I mean, it just is really cut and dry. There's really no in between. You either want to improve your situation or you're comfortable enough with it and you're not going to change. And that's fine. My job is not to try and change anybody or convince anybody. It's essentially to provide you the information you need to make those decisions on your own, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't really help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, right? There's nothing you can say, there's nothing you can do to help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. And let me tell you, in our community, we're very stubborn. We are very wary. We're very untrusting, especially when we talk about money. Because in our culture, you don't talk about money because you don't want people borrowing it from you, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
get kidnapped or all these little weird traditions that sometimes don't do us any good. There's a lot of traditions that we all have that don't necessarily make our cultures better, right? And not talking about money was one of them, right? It's a taboo. So having the discussion like, hey, let's talk about money. Yes, we're going to talk about money
Yeah.
because
Okay.
nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about how much they make. Nobody wants to talk about how much they spend. I think it's more, nobody wants to admit that they don't know, right? Because now that I'm
Yeah.
older, now that I'm in my mid 30s, I think to myself, man, there's so much I still don't understand. There's still so much I don't know. And then I look back and my parents when they were my age and thinking they knew all the answers. And now that I'm the parent, it's like, man, they really didn't know anything, right? But it really just comes down to being an example. There's just nothing to it. Just be the example you wish others to follow. And it starts
Okay.
with you setting the trend,
So
right?
you get rich first,
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely. Because if you can get there, then you can teach someone how to do it, right? We have, a philosophy in WFG or how we identify as people in WFG, and I would say the example is it's a pretty cool example. It's just picture someone that's in a hole, right? Someone that's struggling with finances, maybe relationships, or I mean, when you think about it, 99% of our problems are tied to money in some form or another, right?
A lot. Yeah.
Um,
It's huge. Yeah.
it's a huge, huge factor, right? Number one reason for divorce, number one reason why kids don't go to college, number one reason why people don't retire, number one reason why people live paycheck to paycheck, number one reason people are in debt for years. It's money. We don't know anything about it, right? So if you picture that and you look at someone that's stuck in that hole, most traditional agencies, companies, financial services companies, they're not looking at people that are like, hey, when you do make a quarter million, when you do have money, here's my business card, call me, right? That's the typical, you
Mm.
could say, industry. Well, for us, we jump into that hole. And people are like, why are you in this hole with me? Because I know how to get out. I've been here. I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's like to be underpaid and overwork. I know what it's like to have concerns about what pills I need to prioritize. I know what it's like to not know what tomorrow's going to look like, but I know how to get out of here. Right. So because we have that shared experience, it allows us to connect with the people in our communities better because
Yeah.
we've been there. We know what it's like. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's like to not have to feel like, man, when is it going to be over? When am I going to stop struggling? Right. Um, I guess
Yeah.
that's what allows us to connect and trans transmit that message better because we've been there. We know what it's like.
So okay, interesting. So based on what you said, personal responsibility, getting out of the hole, having that conversation about money. What do you do? Like, let's start it off from the beginning. As you talk to someone brand new, what do you do to to start that conversation? Someone you don't know at all. What do you do to start that conversation about, hey,
Well, I mean,
maybe you should get some life insurance?
it's kind of funny how that you say that, right? Because it's not something that you start with, right? It's something that you lead
Okay.
into, right? Because nobody wants to be told that they are in trouble, right? Like nobody wants to be told, "Hey, you're struggling," because we're gonna take offense to that right away, right? But you lead into that conversation by asking questions. If I would have randomly met you, Kevin, on the street, I want to relate to you. I mean, I'm an introvert by nature, right? As someone that's technical, I'm not someone that likes to associate, or I'm not a friendly person, right? I'm not a social butterfly. I tend to keep to myself unless there's something that you're wearing or something that you're doing, or if I feel like there's a vibe that I can actually talk to you, I'm going to talk to you. Otherwise, I'm just not going to, right? Because in our culture, that's how you're I guess, raised, right? You don't go bother people. That's the mentality. Don't go bother people, right? But
Yeah,
let's just say we're at Starbucks. Let's say that you're getting some coffee. I'm like, hey, are you going off to work? I'll start that conversation, right? Because let's be honest, people don't need life insurance. I'm going to say something super controversial. People don't need it. We don't. It's
mm,
something you do because you care, right? Bottom line,
interesting.
the only reason why I have life insurance is not because I need it, it's because I care about my loved ones. I don't want to go. I've seen enough and I've been through enough funerals and through enough tragedy to know I wouldn't want my family to go through it, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm having that conversation or dialogue with someone, I'm asking questions. I'm like, hey, let me ask you something. When it comes to money, um, what comes to mind? Right? Most people say, well, I don't have enough. That's one of the most generic comments, not having enough, right? Exactly. But that just tells you
Yeah.
how much of a mindset we have when it comes to money, right? A lot of us, I'll tell you a funny story. Like Latinos, right? We tend to watch novelas, like soap operas, right? And in most soap operas, the villains are the rich people and the good people are the poor people, right? And because we grow up looking and thinking that way, we kind of associate that subconsciously. We don't want to be
Yeah.
associated with the villain in the movie
Mm,
because nobody wants to be that, right? That's why we all love and root for the underdog. So
yeah.
we
Yeah.
we have this conscious belief that having money means you did something bad to get it, but that's not true, right? There's so many examples of good people with a lot of money and bad people with no money, right? Um,
Yeah.
but when I'm talking to someone, I'm just asking questions. I want to find out, is there a willingness, and then are you able, right? Because if someone's not willing, if they're not able to, there's really nothing we can do, right? Like if sometimes people are in situations where they're just not willing, right? Their timing is bad. They're going through divorce. They're going through a change in their job, and the willingness is not there. They're able to do something. They're just not willing to. And sometimes they're not willing, but they're able, and that's where you run into a lot of challenges, right? So someone has to have those two things before you can help, right? Um, but to answer your question, you ask questions. Tony Robbins said this, and to this day, I live by it, right? The quality of life you're going to live is going to be heavily determined by the quality of questions you ask, either yourself or others. And when you're talking to someone, if you're not asking questions, but you're making statements, nobody likes that person. nobody likes nobody likes to be sold. We love to
Mm,
buy, right? Our human nature is we love to consume, we love to buy, but nobody likes to be sold, right? So if you approach the conversation with, I have no 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 objective here, and generally when I do talk to someone, I have no object, but like I have no end in mind, right? Meaning I'm not going to try and sell you or you're going to need to get this because I don't know whether they can qualify, need it, deserve it, or want it, right? So I can't make those assumptions. Instead, I need to find out if you're willing and able. All right. So we're going to have a discussion. Let's get to know each other. So let me tell you, what's your relationship with money, right? Do you feel like you have enough of it? Are you a spender or are you a saver? When it comes to money, why do you think some people struggle with it and others don't? And I get a lot of very similar questions. I mean, similar answers. Right? Oh, well, people just overspend their money. They're not good with money. That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But fundamentally speaking, the reason why a lot of us struggle with money, fundamentally speaking, is two main reasons, right? It's the decisions and the choices we make every day, right? We get to decide, do you want to go buy your breakfast or do you want to make your breakfast, right? So it's the habits and the decisions that we make every single day.
Yeah.
The irony to that, David, I mean, not David, Kevin, is,
Yeah.
right? How are we supposed to get better at something we know nothing about, right? Like,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to make better choices and create better habits when you don't know what better looks like, right? So it's like this weird
Mm,
cycle that we get ourselves into. Like, and I say that because a couple years ago, right, I found out that my daughter needed glasses, right? And we were at the office, and I was talking to somebody, and one of our associates, one of our agents, and they were asking me, so how do you know she needs glasses? And I'm like, well, she's never known what good vision is, right? And that's a lot of us. We don't really know what good finances is because no one's ever really taught us. No one we don't know what it's supposed to look like, right?
right.
So when you're having a discussion with someone, you want to find out if there's a need, right? Again, nobody wants to be sold. We want to buy like crazy, right? But you got to offer value before you ask.
Yeah.
Too many people say, hey, I offer insurance. That's great. The connotation behind insurance is a negative one, right? Nobody needs it until they
I
need it,
agree with that.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like nobody wants to pay their car insurance, but when they do get into a car accident, they're happy that they do have it, right? It's just this relationship with being sold, right?
That's a
But
really good point, brother, because I think that, when I get into a conversation, when I'm networking, I find the best results when I'm giving value,
yeah,
free
yeah,
suggestions,
I
advice.
agree. I'm the same way. Because let's be honest, one of the beautiful things about being in business for yourself, like we are, you get to choose who you want to do business with, and you get to choose who you want to be in business with. How awesome is that? Like I've worked before when I used to have different jobs. I used to work at places where I hated my coworkers
Hmm.
because they weren't as hardworking as I was, and I had no choice. Right? You deal with that negativity. That's why so many people are pissed off, right? Angry all the time because they work with people they don't like, right? But the awesome thing about what we do is we get to pick our degree of stress that we want to deal with, right? So if I'm talking to someone that's careless, isn't interested, doesn't want to do anything, man, that saves me a lot of headaches. Because why am I going to try to convince you that you should save money? Like you should already know that you should be saving money. The question is, are you? And are you doing enough of it? Right? Like if I have to convince Kevin, like if I have to convince you, let's say you have a family, you have kids, if I have to convince you that you should care for your family, your kids, then you obviously don't care for them. Like that doesn't have to be something I need to work on. The question is, do you care about them? And then if you are, how are you showing that? Right? Because we show our love and affection for others by the money we spend and the time we spend. Those are the only two indicators of like actual value towards somebody else, right? It's the time and the money you spend, right? So if I'm spending 90% of my time trying to convince you why you should care, that's going to be a client you don't want to deal with. Right? You don't. It's gonna be they're gonna take you to the freaking gutter, right? But if I ask you questions, like if the tables were turned and you were asking me questions, and you say, "Hey, Jesus, I know you have a family, I know you have kids, I know you have a wife," uh, you wouldn't have to convince me about anything money because I'm thinking about it and I'm worried about it all the time, right? As a parent, we're thinking about that all the time. We just don't know how to articulate it into questions. Well, we don't know how to ask the question because you don't know what you don't know, right? But the feeling of anxiety of, man, what if, think about it. Statistically speaking, you're far more likely to become disabled than you are of dying. Statistically speaking, right? Statistically speaking, you are going to get sick. Like it's like those things are going to happen because they happen all the time, right? But if I spend my time, my conversation about the solution and not the problem is obvious, right? The problem is obvious. People aren't saving enough. People live paycheck to paycheck. I mean, think about what happened last year, right? People like were given money to stay home. People receive tens of thousands of dollars, and most don't have anything to show for it. So, what was it then? What was the problem? And again, we're all thermostats, meaning like we have a relationship with money, and that relationship is based on our understanding of it. That's why people that like win the lottery or get a lot of sum of money like from nowhere, they end up either blowing it up or blowing it out or going back to where they're at because they're just not used to dealing with that kind of money, right? So all in all, to I guess to answer this small short question, is you got to care about someone. You really do. You have to have a genuine desire to help someone because it is a scary conversation because
Yeah.
nobody wants to admit that we don't know. Like, I mean, pride plays a big factor as to why people do struggle financially. We don't want to ask for help,
Yeah,
right? Pride, and ego, man,
I agree.
they're they're not your amigo, right? We say, right? And I think if you can get past that barrier or just building rapport, building a relationship, that conversation becomes easier to have. Almost every conversation that I had when I genuinely want to know. I want to know. So tell me about you. Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me, what are your concerns? Tell me what things that you're looking to accomplish. Like if I ask you this, Kevin, what are your top 5 financial goals for this year? What would they be? Or your top 3?
Uh, yeah, achieve the payoff majority of my debt, 50% of our company debt.
To pay off your debt. Okay, that's a good goal, man.
That's a huge goal, man.
Debt keeps
There's a
people
lot.
awake at night, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to say, hey, Kevin, if I were to help you achieve that goal, would you stop me?
No.
No. See, sometimes we're so carried away that we want a yes answer that sometimes we want no answers, right? Because your goal is to get to the no or yes as quickly as possible,
Yeah.
right? The quicker you can get to a no or a yes, the easier this business becomes.
100%. I totally agree with that. And let me just pause there. I want to welcome everyone here that is getting a chance to tune into the Prospecting Masterclass today. Glad to have some of our guests here. If you today we have Jesus with WFG. He has been a part of his agency for about 12 years, selling life insurance, helping building leaders, building his team. And we're going to be talking today about how to find more life insurance clients, how to care more, and also how to brand yourself and market yourself, especially during Life Insurance Awareness Month, which is happening right now. So that's what we're going to be turning next. If you do have any questions, we only have Jesus here for only roughly 23, like roughly until 7:45. So we don't have too much of him today. So I want you to drop your comments down below. If you have any questions regarding building your agency, recruiting more, finding clients, marketing, Jesus has a very advanced marketing system that I got a chance to see, and just that's why I wanted him here today. So as we transition, Jesus, what would you say is I know we're always about that care. What would you say is how are you using the internet and social media to attract people to you?
Man, there's a lot of ways we can use the internet. I think right now the internet, social media, online is definitely an untapped market, right? Because so many people are afraid of it because we tend to be afraid of things that we don't understand and therefore we don't utilize, right? Or we don't care to admit, right?
Yeah.
But it really comes down to a couple of things, right? Like I had the chance to show you some of the things that I do in the background, and a lot of it is automated. A lot of the things that we do now are automated. We just set them and forget them, and then we work with people that are interested, right? That's the goal, right? I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, look, if you're more worried about the sell or the recruit, you're gonna have issues. See, a sell and a recruit, they're all byproducts of your process, right? Because if you're just going hunting somewhere, you're gonna get tired at one point, right? But if you have a process that generates recruits, that generates clients for you, then it's easier to fine tune the leaks. But I use different websites. I have different landing pages to generate curiosity. Right now, we have a couple workshops going on. So for Life Insurance Awareness Month, every year for Life Insurance Awareness Month, I do 4 workshops for the entire month. I do one every Thursday, and they're all strictly just information. It's just get to know life. They're literally the tagline is just get to know life. That's my website, gettoknowlife.com. And it really is designed for ask questions. We're gonna eliminate as many questions as you might have. Let's eliminate the negativity, right? Because a lot of people, I hear all the time, oh, I heard that this company doesn't pay, or I heard that this that, or I heard this, right? And it's funny because it's never based on facts. It's always based on opinions, right? So I made it upon myself or took it upon myself, I want to help people's opinions by giving people facts, right? With no strings attached. It's just strictly informational. So for Life Insurance Awareness Month, we're doing campaigns, we're doing marketing, we're doing emails, we're sending out emails, we're sending out we have a targeted campaign for clients that we do have right now. We have like 500 plus different clients right now that we're sending emails out to, and it's strictly, hey, we're having this workshop, all things life insurance, get to know life insurance, so you can learn, what you should, right? Because I think to a degree we should at least have a basic understanding of what we're spending our money on, right? Because too often do we just blow money, have no clue where it goes. So the
Yeah,
workshops
man.
are
Yeah.
literally designed education. There's no selling. There's no intention of selling. Whether someone wants to say, hey, I need life insurance, great. That's awesome. But they're mainly designed for education. We want people to learn this stuff. We want people to say, hey, I want to learn more. Great. Hop on. It's live. We have Q&A sessions at the end. It's about 30 minutes, so it's not a long webinar or workshop. But it's broken up into 4 sessions, right? It's broken up into the myths, the understanding. It's broken up into different kinds, the application process, the underwriting process, and then what you want to look for in different companies. That way, it's always been my belief that the more empowered the consumer is, the better the economy gets. Bottom line, the better informed you are, the better informed decisions you're going to make. Right now, people are making information. Right? People are just making some really silly decisions based on not facts, but opinions, right? But at the end of the day, if I can help at least one person, one family, one individual say, you know what, I'm glad that I went on this workshop because now I understand what I do have. Great, right? But that's one thing, right? When it comes to branding, it's just be genuine to who you are as a person, right? I think too often we get caught up in the perfectionism of things. And I've learned because that was one of my challenges. I wanted things always be perfect, but I've learned that when you delegate and you separate yourself from the results sometimes, and you just focus on the process, everything else kind of takes care of itself.
I like that, man. Education, providing education.
Definitely.
I want to come to your workshop because I'm looking to get some life insurance plans. And to be honest, I don't know. Like I'm about to get my license as an agent. You know, I'm doing this full time, my Leadz On Demand, but I do have a chance to become an agent with WFG. And I don't know. I don't have enough information, to be honest, about life insurance, and I don't understand, to be transparent.
So think about it. It's life insurance is one of the few vehicles, places, products that you can trade pennies for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think about it. Generally speaking, let's just say you were to open up an investment account, an IRA, or buy Bitcoin or whatever, right? Like, how many places can you go put $50 and have $1 million pool of funds available to you if you were to happen to pass away prematurely? There's not a lot of places. You see, insurance at the end of the day, I posted something a couple of days ago, right, on the WG team group page. See, buy life insurance for the same reason that you would go buy a lottery ticket, because one day it's going to happen, right? It's not if, it's when. Ultimately, when someone passes away, there's always 2 losses. There's always 2 losses. There's the emotional loss, which takes time and patience, and there's nothing you can say that's going to help someone heal, right? But then there's also a financial loss. Whether someone is young and has no kids, there's always a financial loss. There's always an impact financially. Even someone has a stay-at-home mom or a parent. I mean, think about all the money that someone saves by having their mom stay home. That's a lot of money that a person is saving just by having a stay-at-home mom. So if something happens to stay-at-home mom, what happens to the other finances? It becomes a pretty big financial hole that gets left behind. It has to be filled, right? So we take a lot of things for granted, but I'll say what I said earlier. We fear what we don't understand, right? I have life insurance not because someone told me to get it, but because I understand the purpose of it. It's not for me. Life insurance is never for you, right? As you advance in income, as you advance in assets, as you start to accumulate more, life insurance takes a different role, right? Because in the beginning, the purpose of life insurance in the beginning is to protect whatever income someone else depends on, whether you depend on it or someone else depends on it, right? Because right now, let's just say you go get hit by a car and now you can't go, on a computer anymore. You can't use it. What happens to your income? Guaranteed, it's gonna be diminished. In fact, that's the number one reason people file bankruptcy in this country. It's medical reasons. They get sick. In fact, the number one reason why people file disability is arthritis. That's crazy. Think about that. Like, the number one reason why in this country people are gonna file a disability is arthritis. Right?
Like fingers or just can't even work, or
yeah, like you just tense up, like you're sitting down for a long time, like you're gonna develop some form of arthritis. So think about it. If I depend on my income every single day, whether I have kids or not, and then I get into a car accident, Granted, maybe you have some insurance, but is it going to cover everything? No. Is it going to, or even if you have disability insurance, it doesn't cover your full income, right? Like most people right now can't live on what they're earning today. That's why they do side businesses or side jobs. They do Lyft, they do Uber, they do Uber Eats. So if someone is dependent on that income, and that income now gets reduced by 30 to 40%, that's going to create a big domino effect financially, right? But as you get older, there's different purposes for life insurance. The tax benefits, like man, we can have an entire conversation on just the tax benefits of having life insurance, right? As to why I have that, because there's only so many places you can put money legally and it can grow tax free, right? Without Uncle Sam literally typing into you. But there's a lot of reasons why to get life insurance. There's a lot, right? Sometimes people need the core benefits and sometimes need the additional benefits. But whatever the case is, should all your money go to life insurance?
Yeah.
No, you should diversify. You need to have, a safety net. You need to have emergency funds. You need to have liquid funds. Like so, it's not the end all be all. It's the just in case anything does happen while you're building your wealth. That's the primary, most basic purpose of having life insurance, just in case things don't go according to plan early on. Hopefully, you never get to use it, but just in case, financially, there's no GoFundMe. Financially, there's no need for it because we see we're on the same Facebook group sometimes, or we see people pass away, and sometimes it's terrible, right? It's terrible when you see someone pass away and leave kids behind. And granted, sometimes people do GoFundMe accounts, which is, hey, God bless their heart for helping that person in need. But what's going to happen the month after that? What's going to happen the month after that? Whose responsibility? Who bears that responsibility? Right? Granted, you might have taken care of the funeral, the cost, to put someone to rest. That's great. But what happens after? What about the additional expenses that are going to come to raising a child or to maintaining a household? That doesn't stop. Bills don't sleep. It'll be nice if they did, right? It'll be nice if we can call our bills and say, you know what? I need to disconnect for a year. Can you guys just leave me alone for a year? It doesn't work that way, right? And like I said, at the end of the day, life insurance is it's a responsibility thing. It's something you do because you want to be responsible.
See, the way that you just, introduced that to me was very so easily, explained. And I've talked to so many different agents, and I was confused, man, what they're saying. I don't even understand what you're talking about. They're using these big words. So like that was a great example of like how it should be done. God bless all those other guys that they're working hard to grow their business. But the way that you explained it is how I think salespeople, and I train salespeople to teach it, is just like keep it simple, help
Very.
me understand. Like,
I mean,
because
don't get
I
me
know
wrong.
there's
Life
so many
insurance.
terms. There's like all these big words in finances that I don't get. But when you explain it in a way that was like that makes sense, I'm like, whoa, man.
And you know what's
Yeah,
funny about that? Like, I felt the same way. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, back in 2008, 2009, when the market took a turn, right, in the US,
yeah,
I remember getting laid off. I remember having a baby on the way. I remember having this mind of what am I going to do? I have a non-compete agreement with the company I'm working with. I can't go back into the same industry. What do I do? What am I going to do? And naturally, the first thing I did was I cashed out my 401k. And I didn't know that I was going to have to pay penalties for pulling out too early. I didn't know about the taxes because these are not things that are commonly talked about. I mean, think about the last time you did sign up for 401k benefits. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how well you understand what you actually just signed up for. I was a 3. And that's the most common answer. When I ask people, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you know everything there's to know about your 401k, 1, you know nothing about it, where do you rank yourself? A 3. And then I ask people, man, think about that. This is supposed to be your retirement vehicle. This is where you're putting 5, 6% of your income for the next 30 years, and you're a 3. Does that not bother you at all? And I, well, when you put it that way, you're right. Like I have no understanding about taxes or whether it's convertible or like nothing. So when that happened to me, I just felt like, man, I think I'm a smart dude. I think I'm pretty resourceful. How come I didn't know about all of this stuff? And then it hits you. Part of it is because what you said, it's confusing. So we avoid confusion. We avoid what we don't understand. The problem is
Yeah.
when it comes to taxes, money is not something you can just, bury under the bed and forget about it. See, every decision that we make either compounds in our favor or it compounds against us. Bottom line, right? Every decision that we make, good and bad. Same thing with money, right? The more you're aware of it, the better decisions you're going to make about it. The less you're aware of it, the less decisions you're going to make about it, right? I don't know who said it, but he says, he who understands interest earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Yeah, that's very true. That's so, so true. I mean, I remember when I financed my first car, I was so excited. I was going to get a brand new car. I was 18 years old. I had $5,000 saved. No credit history, nothing, right? Nothing, no credit history. I go to the dealership. I give them $5,000. I'm buying a $15,000 car, Kevin, right? And then I walk out with a brand new car and a $500 payment on a $15,000 car after I gave them $5,000. And I'm like, man, then, because of pride, I wanted to go buy the car on my own. I didn't want to go bother my parents or anything like that. And then I get home and I'm looking at what I signed. I had no clue what I signed. I just wanted to get the car, right?
How many payments or how many months is there
Oh my
left?
God, it was like 72 payments, 70, like it was like a 6-year loan. I was
What?
paying like 19%, 20%, right, on this car. And
Bro,
mind
that's a
you, I'm
lot
thinking
of
I can
money,
afford
man.
$500.
That's double, man.
Right? I was like, I can afford $500. Yeah, I could do that. Doesn't seem like a bad deal in my mind, right? Because I didn't understand interest rates and any of that stuff, right? Like to me it was, I can afford $500, right? I can do that. And just thinking about it now, it's like, man, that was one of the dumbest decisions I ever made in my entire life, right? But
Yeah.
people will take advantage of you, right? They can't take advantage of someone that's prepared. I can guarantee you that. I've sat down with bankers. I've sat down with so many different career paths, and it always amazes me that you can be a doctor, great. Your profession is in medicine, but it's not in money, right? Or you can be a chiropractor, and maybe you know how to crack every bone in my body, but money's probably not your expertise, and that's why they're struggling. That's why most doctors have debt that they'll probably never pay off, right?
Yeah.
So in so many ways, something that was so frustrating for me, which was explain it to me easily so I can understand it. I knew that frustration. So when I come across, when I have a conversation, I already know that you don't know or that it's confusing to you. So let me break it down so that you understand it. Because at the end of the day, right, we have a saying in our company, the client that pays or the client that stays is the client that pays. Meaning my goal is to have a lifelong client, not a 30-day client. Right. And in order to do so, you got to provide value. Right. You got to provide value enough for someone to stick with you long enough. Right. But I hear you, man. My job is to make things simple.
Yeah. And you made it very simple for us today. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and drop it down below in the comments. We have about a minute left with Jesus here, and he's here to help you answer any questions that you have. Uh, I also, if you are interested more in what Jesus does, especially with life insurance, I put the link right here on the page, gettoknowlife.com. That's where he introduces his services to you, the life insurance plans and just information. And also he has a weekly workshop. That's it. We can get this on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you and bless you on this day. Thank you for your time today, Jesus.
Anytime. Appreciate it. Glad to be on.
Yeah. So thanks again. Jesus has been building his business. And if you want any information, I'll put his info down below. And thanks for everyone for tuning in to today's class on how to find more life insurance clients.
You have a good one, Kevin. Take care.
All right. Thank you. See you, everyone.